At 412 hours on October 5, 2025, deep inside Ukrainian territory, 14 unmanned aerial vehicles lifted from concealed launch sites. Engines roared in perfect sync. Each drone carried a 40 kg high explosive warhead. Crews knew the plan was bold, but they did not yet grasp how far its effects would spread. Within hours, the Russian Navy would learn a harsh lesson: nowhere is safe. No supply line secure, and the rear sanctuary they trusted no longer exists. 5 hours earlier, before dawn over Moscow or the Caspian port of Olia, Ukrainian military intelligence finalized target coordinates. The chosen target was a ship Russian commanders considered untouchable. Anchored roughly 800 km from Ukraine's nearest position, it floated in what Moscow saw as an impenetrable safe zone. That assumption would be shattered. The vessel was Port Olia 4, a Russian-flagged cargo ship of about 4,900 gross tons, not an ordinary freighter. Intelligence assessed nearly 5,000 tons of Iranian-supplied military hardware aboard. The manifest read like a war plan. Components for Shad 136 and Shad 238 drones, avionics, precision gyroscopes, satellite navigation units, electrical systems, and pallets of 122 mm rockets. In battlefield terms, one ship contained the means to sustain weeks of strikes on cities and front lines. Ukrainian analysts tracked her with layered reconnaissance. First, Japanese commercial satellites use synthetic aperture radar. ZAR sees at night and through clouds and detects ships when AIS is off. Analysts matched radar signatures to known hull profiles and used anchor chain geometry and drift patterns to confirm identity. Multiple passes showed a predictable 4 to 6 hour anchorage window, a planner's dream. Second came signals intelligence. Port Olia 4 ran in radio silence. That silence, paired with intermittent radar emissions, revealed its location. The captain thought he was hidden. Ukrainian planners saw an opportunity. He had anchored inside the Volga Don shipping canal instead of the main Caspian port. On paper, it reduced exposure. The Caspian felt safe 800 km from Ukraine's lines and shielded by Russian territory. Who could reach him there? That confidence would not survive contact. Kiev set a precise objective. A fiery explosion might scatter parts and allow salvage. Kiev wanted controlled sinking. The plan aimed to breach the hull surgically and send the cargo to the seabed, where recovery would be near impossible. It demanded accuracy and timing. The strike used indigenous long-range drones built on the UJ-26 extended range platform, purpose-built kamikaze UAVs. Composite airframes cut radar cross-section. Cruising speed 150-180 km per h, low-level flight 260 m above water lets them blend into radar clutter. Guidance merged GNSS inertial backup and electro-optical terminal confirmation. Even under jamming, the drones could find their mark. Warheads matched the mission, 40 kg charges. Some are optimized for fragmentation. Others are set for semi-armor penetration to punch deck plates and fuel tanks, range up to about 1,200 km with loitering fuel. 14 drones formed the package, 12 attackers and 2 relays. At 412, final synchronization was green launch. The plan split the swarm along 4 axes. Group 1 targeted the stern starboard quarter, engines, propulsion, and ventilation. Group 2 attacked the beauport side bridge and forward compartments. Group 3 struck midships to rupture beams and open the waterline. The final pair laid denial barriers to block tugboats and patrol craft. On a 5-hour profile, most drones skimmed the sea at 2060 m, while 2 relay drones flew at 30,500 m to pass telemetry. Small composite returns looked harmless to coastal radars and were logged as low priority. At 9:15 local time, the first drone hit the aft upper deck, blowing open a thin plate around the engine room ventilation shaft. Fire raced along cable trays and crippled damaged control circuits. Fuel pumps stuttered. Emergency generators faltered. Automatic firefighting systems weakened. Seconds later, a second drone struck the starboard waterline, partially penetrating the hull and unleashing catastrophic flooding into low compartments. The third and fourth followed. One impacted a cargo hatch. Another punched the port waterline. Structural connections fractured. Heavy black smoke and burning debris filled the deck. The ship began listing. On the bridge, alarms screamed. The captain declared a maritime emergency. Russian port security launched 2 tugboats and a coastal patrol craft. Too late. At 9:18, a 5th drone smashed into the bow near the control spaces. The electrical distribution panels shorted in cascade and the bridge went dark. The main power died. Systems switched to batteries with power lost and fire spreading. Emergency systems faltered. The drones carried pre-programmed inertial paths to survive electronic warfare. Warhead effects were deliberately varied. Fragmentation to shred exposed systems and delayed fuses to carve deep cavities where pumps could not reach. Between 9:20 and 9:23, the 6th and 7th struck together, ripping a massive tear in the starboard hull below the waterline. At 9:25, with fires raging and multiple compartments flooded, the captain ordered the ship abandoned. Lifeboats hit the Caspian as thick smoke poured from the stern. Russian air defenses shot down 2 drones during the terminal phase. It did not alter the outcome. At 9:28, the 8th drone hit the lower midships belt, deepening the list to 7 degrees. The 9th and 10th targeted the stern shaft tunnel. Propulsion lines ruptured. Fuel oil spilled under the deck and fed the flames. The 11th and 12th laid barrier explosions along the tugboat approach lanes to block rescue. Relay drones kept transmitting high-definition video and telemetry. The failure chain was a textbook. Electrical loss crippled automation. Pump failure erased flood control. The list shifted the center of gravity. Structural fatigue spread as warped beams failed. By 937, Port Olia 4 was mortally wounded. Within hours, she capsized. By 1319, satellite imagery showed her fully submerged beneath the Caspian. Smoke still curled from the wreck. Russia's Ministry of Defense initially downplayed the incident as minor. That claim collapsed as photos leaked across social platforms. Open-source analysts geolocated images using shoreline structures, cranes, and street lights. Commercial satellites confirmed a smoke plume visible 10 kilometers away. On October 5, 2025, Ukraine's general staff confirmed the strike and the cargo, Iranian UAV components and ammunition. Follow-up images on October 10 showed Russian salvage vessels attempting recovery. The scale of loss remained huge. Salvage teams worked under blinkered lights, hauling what they could in dangerous conditions. Divers and cranes pulled damaged crates, but much lay forever lost. Analysts counted the loss not just in tons, but in weeks of paused operations. Factories idle, production lines starved of parts, and launch schedules disrupted. The human cost mattered too. Crews and dock workers faced sudden danger, and entire firms reeled from missed contracts and raised costs. A single shod production set weighs roughly 200 kg. With 5,000 tons aboard, the cargo held enough for hundreds of drones. Each shahhead carries about a 40 kg warhead. The sunken cargo represented over 12,000 kg of explosives that would never reach their targets. More crucially, without avionics, GNSS packages, and power units, Russia could not assemble drones on an industrial scale. The strike did not merely sink cargo, it sank operational plans for weeks of bombardment. Strategically, the attack shattered assumptions about sanctuary. The Caspian, once a rear area, was now contested. Markets reacted. War risk premiums on Caspian routes spiked. AIS blackouts rose as captains tried to hide. Some ships used false call signs. Convoy escorts slowed port turnover. Overland trans-SH shipment increased intelligence trails, costs, and vulnerable nodes. Diplomatic ripples followed. Caspian states called emergency maritime safety meetings. For the first time in the war, officials labeled the Caspian a contested operational zone rather than a sanctuary. From Kaa's view, the strike was a disciplined masterpiece. It extended the war beyond the Black Sea theater and compelled Moscow to reassess its logistics and defenses. By sinking one ship, Ukraine eliminated thousands of Iranian-supplied drones before assembly and disrupted the tempo of Russia's air campaign. For Russia, the shock was immediate. Shod production faltered. Nightly bargages that terrorized cities slowed. Supply chains that were once deemed secure now feel exposed and fragile. The loss of Port Olia 4 was not just a sunken ship. It was a blow to confidence, a rupture in logistics, and proof that no rear area is beyond reach. Modern war measures resolve and precision, not just distance. That was the day's lesson. A final effect was uncertainty. If Kyiv could do this once, it could do it again. Every ship bound for Russian ports now sailed under a cloud of fear. Crews demanded danger pay. Insurers refused coverage. Schedules slipped. Turnaround times stretched. That constant pressure, the suspicion that any small radar blip might be UJ-26, began to grind systems down. In the end, the rusting hull on the Caspian floor was not the only victory. The collapse of the illusion of safety was the lasting win. If you found this account compelling and want more verified breakdowns of modern operations, consider subscribing. Your support helps us deliver clear, factual reporting. Stay safe.